So quickly do some intros here for this Expert Connect. And like Jed was saying at the beginning, just to get this out there, clarifying what it is that Expert Connect is. If you're watching the recording here, you'll know that it's going to be something that we do monthly, if not a couple times a month, depending on the experts that we have lined up here and the demand that we hear from you. But this is really just meant to connect our community with experts in various fields or disciplines. And we're kicking it off with this one, which is talking about careers in digital marketing. So you can expect to see in the community updates on when we have dates and guests and content scheduled. But again, like I said, if you cannot make the Expert Connect to get your questions answered, there'll be excerpts from the recording shared in the community. So introductions. We know Christy's joining us from Massachusetts, marketing manager for Rockland Federal Credit Union, aware or connected with myself and with Jed through University of Vermont Digital Marketing Fundamentals course. So welcome, Christy. We've got Jed. You want to do a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. Jed, I've got 17 years in digital marketing. I've worked with Erik for a long time. I help out on the Marketing Careers podcast, and I'm one of the mentors in the Marketing Careers community that we have. And so I'm super excited about this new series, Expert Connect, kind of a hybrid webinar, almost like 50% live podcast, 50% AMA. And we're going to have some really amazing guests from our network that are in the community, that are experts in marketing, that are managers and leaders or specialists. So I'm super excited about all of these Expert Connect sessions going forward.
I agree, and I, we looked at a list of who we have scheduled to join for certain topics, and I'd be surprised if we weren't doing more of these than planned, just given the demand and interest from our community. Once we get a couple going, but love the format here. So for those new to the community, new to the Marketing Help, my background is I am co-founder, president of the Marketing Help. 25 plus years experience in marketing positions, 20 years agency side, 5 years client side. But what's interesting that most people don't know is the Marketing Help, started as an idea on a napkin back in 2014, became a true business operation in 2018. It became my full-time job in 2019. So just to give you a sense for how committed I am for marketers, and to work with Jed here to create a solution for managing your marketing career. That's how serious we are. So serious that we're dedicating most of our time, and in my case, full time, to making this something that you can access and leverage. So you're in good hands. If you have questions tied to anything in your marketing career, you're in the right place. So I want to start off just by talking about, to Jed's point about this is structured kind of like a live podcast session, but also meant to be for Q&A back and forth. I just wanted to highlight just a couple of, now this is Careers in Digital Marketing Expert Connect, is to just highlight a couple of career digital marketing career trends that we're seeing, that we're witnessing. And for context, so everyone knows, when you're part of the Marketing Help community here, the community that you're part of, a couple hundred other marketers. And you may not see all the conversations that are going on behind the scenes that Jed and I are privy to, but we kind of have we do have our fingers on the pulse of what's going on in digital marketing from a career standpoint. I spend literally 35 hours a week talking to marketers about, in various stages of their careers. So I just want to share a couple of things that we're seeing that you may be seeing too as marketers. But again, just highlighting a couple of things that we're seeing as trends in the digital marketing career space. I think if you're not subscribed to the podcast, there's a couple episodes that are tied to some of these career trends you may want to listen to. But the first is, here's a career trend. And we have a podcast episode about it if you wanted to go deeper into the subject. But The things that are influencing these career trends are tied to the pandemic, are tied to the Great Resignation, the Big Quit, the Great Reshuffle, whatever you want to call it, that is impacting how marketers are treating their positions. And I'm curious, Christy, if you're actually happy in your role, or you're looking for a new role, just curious. But these things are influencing the trends that we're seeing. Hybrid teams, guess what? Everybody was asked to go hybrid or go remote 2 years ago. Now there's elements of coming back into the office, maybe not full-time, but part-time, a couple times a week. Maybe it's coming back for the all hands meeting or for an event that's being planned. So you see these sort of hybrid expectations popping up. And guess what that means? That means that you as a marketer have to reacquaint yourself with what it's like to be not just juggling the hybrid situation, but also the impacts of that, which is not everybody may be in the office and not everybody may get the FaceTime with those managers, direct reports, whatever it is. So there's a sense and a need for upping skills tied to managing people, both managing up, managing across, managing down. Are you ready for that? I don't know. But that's something that if you fast forward for the next 6 months, as more and more marketing teams are being asked to become hybrid, it's probably going to be more stop-start than it will be a true evolution where December 2022, we've got teams that are full-time in-house or in office. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it will be, I think, a lot of stop-start, which doesn't sound very fun if that's impacting your marketing team, but something you want to be prepared for. The quick tip here is thinking through your ability to managing people, again, both up and down and across. Ensuring that you have a process established for those that may not be fully in-house or remote. And having a good comfort level with your technologies in terms of how to use them now that you may be using and relying more on video or less on video. Thoughts on any questions or thoughts on that first trend?
I'll let Christy type.
Oh, a one-person operation, 5 years in, interested in seeing how other departments are structured, defining roles, what should be, farming out versus how to integrate agency. Got it. So, and we can go deeper into this, Christy, as we get through the conversation here, but the marketing team of one, congratulations. You've set yourself up in a situation that is both challenging to identify how to manage forward, but the other thing is your job security is fairly high, for these marketing teams of one. Because my guess would be, when you look around those in your company, are there many other people that understand what you do? And then you may have a boss or a manager that has some idea of marketing, but let's be honest, you're probably the most competent knowledge-wise and experience-wise in marketing, I would imagine. 5 years of marketing experience is pretty, that's a pretty hot commodity at this stage, especially working for in-house teams. So I'm going to I want to table that question because I feel I can go really deep into Christy's question here about the one-person team. But let me get through some of these career trends. But again, the specific questions, Christy, keep them coming and posted, and we'll address them as we get into the next section.
Yeah, and Christy asked a question just around sort of what you mean by hybrid teams, because I guess that can mean a number of things, right? Hybrid teams meaning, hey, we've got our in-house team and half are remote and half are on site in the office. We've got hybrid teams in that some are full-time employees, others are freelancers or contractors, like number 4 on the career trends. Hybrid could also mean, sort of the agency embedding themselves in the team, I guess. Number of ways to look at what hybrid means, and it's all complicated, given the first definition of, we've got some people that are remote and some people that are on site, in all of those flavors.
Yeah, and hopefully, Christy, that answers your question about defining what hybrid teams mean. But just given the nature of the definitions that Jed shared, you can see the impact that it has with the challenge of managing anything, right? Managing direct reports, managing agencies, managing processes. But everything, all these trends, like I said before, are influenced heavily by the fact that we were all going remote. And a lot of teams were losing talent, or a lot of teams were bringing on talent. Excuse me, or a lot of teams were farming out to freelancers. And thus has caused this interesting quasi-nucleus of a marketing team, which then feeds into the second trend here, which I'll cover, is given all that, right? These opportunities for virtual learning and networking. So, Christy, if you're looking to learn a new skill, where do you go? If you're looking to strengthen a skill that you have, where do you go? Well, chances are you're going to go online. And you're going to find some course to take that gives you, the content, the questions and answers, and congratulations, here's your certification. Not dissimilar to the UVM structure. But the trend here is to go beyond that. And how can you learn in a way that isn't just the first two out of the three things necessary for learning something? Watch something, do something, teach something. How can you find other opportunities to virtually learn in a way that's more impactful? Because anybody, and the barrier to entry of learning something via a certification or a course is very low. So the thought here, as you start thinking about and looking around to different opportunities to learn, is looking for immersive experiences when it comes to learning. And what I mean by that is, well, yes, you have the online class structure, that's fine, but models that are popping up left and right around virtual learning are tied around small cohorts, 5-10 people, group coaching sessions, where you're learning from a lot of different perspectives around one specific category or concept. On-demand learning tied with some virtual coaching. These cohort models that are popping up are immersive from the standpoint of, it isn't just listening in on a webinar like this, but it's taking accountability to say, here, you need to do this, this, and this before X date. Oh, by the way, you need to record something to show that you've learned and grasped the concept. So this watch, do, teach learning method is starting to pop up in more opportunities when it comes to virtually learning any sort of marketing skill. Now, virtual networking. Go ahead, Jed.
I was just going to say, Eric, I've heard a lot of people talking about this over the last 6 months. So it makes sense that this is on the list of, careers in digital marketing and career trends for digital marketers. This idea that, now that everybody's remote and we're doing less learning together at the office, for example, where we're getting everybody together for a lunch and learn or something like that, or we're doing fewer of the big events where you're going to a symposium or a conference or something and learning on big in-person events. That's all on pause, and some of that's going to come back for sure. But a lot of people in this space, digital marketers and marketers in general, are talking about how, you can almost think of it as like a pyramid, right? Where you've got all the on-demand opportunities at the base of the pyramid. There's a zillion of them, and some are better than others. If you go to a Udemy 45-minute digital marketing 101 for $1, That's going to be one quality of learning that you can do. If you go and you take a 10-hour HubSpot course on demand, that's a different caliber of quality. The second layer could be that cohort based learning where it's shorter, it's a matter of weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, and you're in a group learning together. And then the top of that pyramid is sort of like the specialized community, the always on learning, right? Where you're learning together with other marketers, other digital marketers, other specialists. Like I know when we get Bill Sebald to talk about careers in SEO, he's going to mention a couple of SEO communities that are great for always on learning. And we've seen all these communities pop up over the last 6 to 12 months around product marketing, paid media, marketing operations, you name it. These communities at the top of the pyramid of your opportunities for learning seem like what a lot of people are talking about because as they get away from some of the base, right, of simple on demand, watch a couple of videos and then you forget all the material in a matter of a day.
No, I like the concept of those pyramid sections of learning because they're there for everybody to tackle. It's amazing how many don't. So if there's any takeaway from this session, it's knowing that those opportunities exist. And then the question is, which is the right one for me? And that's, if you have any questions or thought about that, feel free to send us a message in the community or post a question in the community as well. So go to the next career trend. So careers in digital marketing, and this may tap into a portion of Christy's question here. Here's what I'm seeing, right? So which roles do you think are in most demand when it comes to not only what I do, what should I learn myself as a marketer, but who should I have on my team as I look forward, for careers in digital marketing for my team? Well, there's no shortage, or I should say there's no question that if you're any marketer, no matter B2B, B2C, whatever it is, content is a huge role, plays a huge role in any marketing campaign or marketing team. So at a bare minimum, a content marketing specialist, coordinator, head of content marketing, someone who's in charge of the content strategy, creation, curation, distribution. And again, unfortunately, there is no audited definition of what that should include. Every company defines it differently. But when you think about the content, I think that's a role that's been around, been popular, should exist on teams. But fast forward a couple of months, and the types of skills that should be on your content team should include someone that can successfully and competently curate, manage, edit any sort of audio and or video. And if you're thinking to yourself, how hard can it be? Oh, it can be pretty challenging. Or if you're thinking like, I do that myself already, it can be done better. And if you're thinking, I don't have a need for that because I don't have any audio or video content assets, well, then that should be an eye opener that you're behind the times. And that content, both audio, video, illustration, whatever the case may be, should be something that's part of your content or content plan. So I say content roles at a high level to capture for not just the strategic position and role, but the editing, production, post-production roles. Jed had a thought?
Yeah, I mean, content, no specific thought, but content had to be on this list, right? Everybody's hiring for content roles, content like the few, as we're not here to talk about digital marketing, right? Digital marketing has been a trend for 10, 15 years longer, right? Marketers seeing the space change and saying, I need more digital skills. That's a big, careers in marketing shift to digital over a very long period of time. We're seeing that sort of in microcosm right now with content over the last couple of years. Every digital marketer is saying, I need to learn more about content, how content works, how content production works, content strategy, content management, the tech and tools to manage content from production all the way through management and syndication. Content's the fuel, right, of all of our marketing efforts. It makes the whole marketing machine go is content, specifically on the B2B side, but on the B2C side, right, you can come up with a different kind of fuel machine analogy, but it's just as core, it's just as critical to making all of your marketing work and making all of your marketing run. And it can be labor intensive. So we need a lot of content resources to do good marketing. And the smart marketing organizations are realizing that. The smartest marketing organizations have known that for a long time, like Red Bull and Salesforce, and they've invested in content resources for 20 years. But the other ones are catching up. And it's also, I don't want to segue too hard into number 4, but it's tricky to freelance content. It's the most readily available for freelancing, right? There's tons of copywriters and content production graphic designers out there, but it's really difficult for sustainability, not sustainability in the environmental sense, but sustaining your spend, sustaining some scale with your marketing, because you need your content people to really live and breathe the brand and the features and the value proposition and all of that. Can be really tricky, but content, man, hard to overstate. I think there was some Indeed research that came out from the job site Indeed, and of the 10 most in demand or fastest growing jobs, I think 8 of them were healthcare related, and the other 2 were marketing related. And I think those were both content roles. It was a content role and a graphic design role, which is content production. So 8 healthcare roles and 2 content marketing roles of all things. That was such interesting research that came out from Indeed.
Exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was a marketing manager right now, I would make sure that I had identified on my team somebody who can own, and if not figure out, creation and editing of audio and video, as well as somebody whose job it was for copywriting. And I've had this debate with the CEO before about the value of a copywriter and what do they do all day. And more than anybody would ever imagine if used correctly. So when I think about what should a marketing manager have on their team, and I look to you, Christy, is there somebody in your team other than yourself? I mean, you have you as the one person team, but is a lot of what you do content, or what percentage of what you do is tied to content creation, blogs, landing pages, email, ad copy? Is that all you, or is that something that you get support with from freelancers?
Brochureware.
Because I'm sure Christy's role straddles digital and traditional.
And while Christy's thinking and typing, we're also going along with this trend. I'm just giving Christy some time to type. But with this trend of content roles, we're also, I am personally, I think you are too, Erik, and some of the other folks who are in the marketing career space, the transitioning into marketing. Content is a really easy transition from some other functions, from some other industries or verticals or functions into marketing. I have connections in my network that are moving from, for example, journalism into content marketing and PR. And so it's a really transferable skill both ways, but especially into marketing. We've seen that with a couple of other disciplines like analytics, for example, a couple of conversations we've had even recently of transitioning into marketing and making use of some skills that are already there around numbers, analytics, deriving insights from data, but content and coming in from something like PR or journalism is even on the table.
Yes, and again, that supports the concept of careers in digital marketing, that for new marketers, it's never been, I'll say, easier to get into digital marketing from a different industry, which in my mind, I think should make, for those that hate their job, there's always an option if you want to consider marketing. So Christy says that her content is some content is provided for articles, and website content, social media, mostly written by her. And then I guess, Christy, when it comes to audio or video content, is that something that you're currently using or managing, or is that something that's planned to be woven into your content strategy moving forward? I'm just curious on when you think about the type of content you're creating, are you producing videos, editing videos, producing audio content, etc.? And we'll let Christy type that in. And while she's typing that in, we'll segue 3 into 4 here when we talk about freelancing. And I'll say this out loud with a little bit of conviction. If you have a need for your team tied to a marketing function or skill, there's never been, I'll say not easier time, but it's never been more direct to find good talent as a freelancing option. And here's why I say that. So you look on the supply and demand side, right? So the demand that a marketer has for, I need somebody who can write copy. I need somebody who can manage some outreach. I need somebody who can create my social media calendar and publish it. Well, the ability, so that's on the demand side. On the supply side of where can I find freelancers that I trust that can do that? I'm not saying Upwork. I'm not saying Fiverr. I'm not saying those sorts of micro task gig places to go, although you could, but I'm not saying that. What's starting to grow is these marketplaces that exist where they just house capable freelancers. But the difference here is that there's more filter on who they bring in. So when you go to a place and say, I'm looking for someone who can write copy, they'll say, what kind of copy? You'll say, I need somebody who can write blog content and landing page content for a financial industry, B2B brand. Who do you know? And these types of places that exist, some of the names of these marketplaces are Marketer Hire and Maple, where they are very, very stringent on who comes in so that they're only giving you quality freelancers. Anyway, it's a solution where you're faced with, I can't find good talent to hire full time. I have an immediate need. We'll start looking for these aggregators that are just for marketing talent, not engineers, not accountants. This is just for marketers. So they really truly believe in the sense that there's a need for hiring freelance talent. So it looks like when it comes to content, Christy is managing the strategy and then using partners for production. And a podcast is in the works. That sounds interesting. So these are just some of the career trends that I see that are products of what we've just been through in the last 2 years and are shaping what is happening, not just in how marketers are reacting, but also how businesses are creating to solve some of these burgeoning needs that have come up in the last couple of years. So any last thoughts on these career trends, Jed?
As it relates to freelancing, yeah, tons of opportunity, both for the team who needs activation production support, or even market research, or even strategy, going out and getting a quality freelancer around marketing strategy. Those are all options. And as I think you said, the flip side of the coin is, if you're looking to explore something that's maybe part of marketing, but outside of your remit at your day job, then taking on a freelance client, taking on 2 freelance clients to explore how that work goes and is produced. If you're excited about social media marketing and that's not something you get to work on at your day job, take on a social media client as a freelancer. If you'd like to get more into the blog post, podcast production, audio, video, take on a side client as a freelancer and explore that skill set. These marketplaces, connections, online communities, mentors can make connections. There's so many opportunities out there, both for teams who are looking to get more done and for marketers who are looking to build new skills outside of their current day job.
Yeah. So sticking with that on the right, because you're representing the other side of what I was saying. And here's what I hear from my conversations with marketers. I want to travel the world and do my digital marketing. I say, that's great. You've got a pretty good job right now. Why would you want to do that? And it's not to say that someone shouldn't or can't do it. It is extremely viable when traveling becomes a little bit more ubiquitous. But just the concept of, I want to manage clients on my own, the best time to be a freelancer is when you have a full-time job, because you control the length of project, size of project, and type of project. And when people quit and then they say, I'm going to quit and become a freelancer, you forget that you become a little bit more dependent upon not just doing the work, but finding the work. That's what makes freelancing hard. Is you need to find, if you're one person, you got to find the work and then do the work. So you got to balance the two. But every marketer should experience what it's like to freelance. To Jed's point, it doesn't just build a hard skill, it builds a soft skill of managing time and managing people. And if you're coming from an agency environment, that's usually pretty easy because you have the client service mentality, and therefore now you're just doing it for one person or fewer people. So those are some trends. Let's open to some Q&A. I know Christy may have some more poignant questions based off of the one statement she made earlier. But here's what I just like to throw out there is kind of our directory and our directory of categories. What questions do you have about careers in digital marketing? So Christy, if I paraphrase correctly from what I saw earlier, you have a question about, if I dig deeper here, it sounds like there might be two questions. How are other marketing teams structured? Because you're probably looking to gut check to say, am I doing it right? And then the second question is tips or best practices when it comes to integrating a third-party outside agency. Do I have that correct? That sound about right in terms of the two questions you have? I'm going to go with my gut here and say that's probably the two questions that you have. So let me start with this. I'll pose this. I'll just state the question and then answer the question. And so we have two questions and we have a third question here. When marketing, from Christy, when marketing yourself to other teams with more members, how do I decide how to specialize and peel back all the duties? Okay, we'll get to that third one, but let me hit the first two, and then we'll go to that last question. So the first question about, in so many words, is how do other marketing departments structure themselves? So here's what we know. We know that Christy is looking at, you're basically the person to do all the marketing, and you have some administrative support. That's, I'm going to imagine, at varying levels. But certainly not at a competency, meaning those that assist you, I don't believe, doesn't sound like, are marketing coordinators, meaning officially titled marketing support. It's more like admin assistants that are giving you some support here and there. So that's what you're dealing with. So your question is, how do other marketing teams structure themselves? Here's a way to think about it. I know that depends on the size of the team, the company, and the budget. But if I was building a marketing team from scratch, regardless of the company or the industry, what I would look for is, I think about it in the types of media that exist for any brand to use to identify, attract, and gain the attention of their audience. Have somebody who's focused on paid media, have somebody who's focused on owned media, and have somebody who's focused on earned media. Paid media meaning drive demand, drive awareness, have a budget that I spend X to get Y, someone dedicated to doing that. The owned media is someone who's in charge of the landing page experience, basically anything that happens after someone lands on a page or site. But also owned media would include email, capturing information, growing a database, social media. Doesn't mean you have to be in every social media network, but that owned media individual would understand which networks make the most sense, and they would be responsible for that. And then earned media would be anything tied to general awareness, media connections, outreach, PR, affiliates, if there was an opportunity to do some sort of advocacy program or influencer relationships. Now, again, the details underneath those three positions may vary based on your product or service, but as a competency in terms of who's in charge, if you separate your teams into those categories, that will help to do a couple of things. One, it will determine very clean lines of responsibility, so no one's overlapping too much. Two, by doing that, it allows each of those individuals to have very specific metrics and very specific goals. Paid media, clearly, they're looking at efficiencies of spend tied to some sort of conversion, lead, sale, download, whatever. Owned media, it's about engagement, retention, conversion rate of traffic to a specific page. And then the earned media could be about, again, awareness, engagement, reach, those sorts of metrics. Does that help answer your first question? How other marketing teams are structured? Awesome. All right. Second question. How do I best manage, and in your words, integrate a third-party agency? So I'll go general, but still helpful. When it comes to working with an outside agency, third-party agency, a couple factors are in play here. One, you want to make sure that your interests are aligned, meaning try not to hire an agency that is compensated based on percent of spend, because that does not align interests. They just want you to spend more, but sometimes you don't need to spend more. So that model for payment is a little bit broken in my mind, and just be wary of engaging with an agency to do that. So step one is make sure your interests are aligned. You're hiring an agency that understands your brand, has experience working with your industry, can show receipts or examples of having done what they're about to do for you. Now think about that. No matter what the agency is, what they claim to do, it keeps you from hiring the wrong agency for the wrong reason. So that's one thing to keep in mind for integrating your agency. The second thing is accountability. So whoever you hire, whether it's one person or a 3-person shop, 5-person shop, whatever it is, the best way to manage a relationship is to ensure, like any other relationship, there is open lines of communication and there's accountability on both sides. The best agency partnerships I've had are ones where agencies held me accountable to a scorecard. We would grade each other on a quarterly basis. I would say, how are we doing as a client? And I gave them a scorecard that said, you can grade my team on these 5 things. And every quarter when we get together, you tell me what we're doing right what we're doing wrong, what we can be doing better. Now, obviously, we get to do the same thing for you, but I can only tell you that the power of those conversations that happen when an agency feels entitled, I think it's the wrong word. When an agency feels compelled or comfortable, when an agency feels comfortable telling you in a meeting that your team hasn't been we feel that your team isn't moving fast enough. And we understand there's reasons, but we're not hearing why, and we're not getting updates. That's good feedback. We need to fix something because we're not letting the agency do what they're hired to do. That's our problem. We need to fix that. So having that scorecard for both sides is something that needs to be put in place. Does that help with your question on integrating agencies? And if you have a specific question about a specific type of agency, just type it in there. All right, good on that question. So the last question here is, when marketing yourself to other teams that have more members, and when you say, how do I decide how to specialize? I might a little more context on this question. When you're marketing yourself to other teams internally, is that what you mean? Or when you're marketing yourself to other teams externally, in other words, for another job? Is this an internal question, or you marketing yourself externally? Oh, okay. So how to build, okay? So because you've been a one-person marketing team, you feel compelled to be good at everything. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. But you're in a great opportunity here, because you now get to be more selective on where you want to be more specialized. And therefore, everything that isn't part of what you decide to be what I like to call your major and your minor, similar to an academic environment, right? What is your specialty that is supported by another specialty? And then you focus all your time on that. Doesn't mean you've forgotten about all the things you've been doing. So how do you decide to specialize and peel back all the duties? I'm going to interpret as saying, you have to determine, of all the things that you've tested or done in your time, which do you feel most confident in doing? Which do you feel most competent in doing? And then make those your specialty areas that you present yourself as. Hi, I'm Christy. I'm a content marketer with a specialty in writing email nurture series, landing page copy, and ad captions. So therefore, when you present yourself like that internally, people see you and they know, okay, this is what Christy's here to do. She's good at this stuff. We'll look to fill in the gaps with other external resources for X, Y, and Z. Externally, when you pitch yourself that way, then ideally, you're pitching yourself for a role that focuses and has those specific things in their job description. And therefore, you're not walking into a conversation saying, I'm a content marketer, and saying I can do everything, because that's dangerous. Rather, you're saying I'm a content marketer, but my specialty exists in 1, 2, and 3. I think that makes it easier for you to pitch yourself with value, because they know that you specialize in those 3 areas, and you're not going in there saying I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. No one should ever say that as a marketer. Let me know if that helps with that third question. All right, so of the categories here, Christy, just give you one last shot to see if there's any other topics that you wanted to ask questions about. And as you're navigating some of these areas with this information, Christy, and you have questions that come up, you can send me a chat in the community.
Question: Where can we find this recording, and what's the next Expert Connect?
So all these Expert Connect recordings will be posted. Awesome. Thank you, Christy. All the recordings we've filed or saved in the Expert Connect section, I believe, in the TMH community. And then our next Expert Connect will be careers in SEO. And we're thinking a couple of weeks, and we're going to have a great guest for that one. So the good news here is that all the information, now we have our specific channel in the community for Expert Connect. So check there for the recording, check there for the next update on who we're going to have, what we're going to be talking about, date and time. Everything will be there. So there you have it. And Christy, thank you for joining. And please reach out with any other questions that you have. And we'll see you in the next Expert Connect.